Unity of Houston is an inclusive church where we seek to understand and live the teachings of Jesus and other spiritual masters. At Unity, we welcome all people from all spiritual paths and every walk of life. We celebrate the diversity of our city and of our world, and we teach love, tolerance, and oneness, seeking to live in harmony with open minds and open hearts.
Wherever you are in your spiritual path, you are always welcome at Unity. Join us and discover that the life of your dreams is already within you.
It was just really, really beautiful. Thank you, guys. That was really something. Oh, my. Well, we are still in our series, Taking Our Next Steps. And tonight, I'm kind of picking up the thread, I think, from the opening of our series where I started talking about our calling and talking about how you could discern that. And tonight, I'm kind of taking it kind of one step over to the next really big step, which is finding our passion. I spoke a lot about that on that evening, but also want to just kind of say that it's not a point in time. It's not a single thing you do. It's not a certain time in your life that you find your passion, and then everything else is just like flatline after that. Because, you know, flatline in medicine is not a good thing. I'll just say that. So really being able to constantly reinvent yourself, recreate, turn the corner and see what's next. What is it that wants to be created in you? What do you want to create? What do you want to do? I love to counsel with people and just invite them just to tear the lid off, like some of my teachers and therapists taught me to do, which is just to imagine if you could do anything you wanted, if you could have it any way you wanted, if you could be anything you wanted to be, like a child in a playground. I mean, just all constraints aside, all limitations aside, and ask yourself, what would be the coolest thing ever for you to do, for you to reach for you to bring to the world? I tell you what, if there's something in you that is ungiven yet, some gift in you ungiven, then you're not ready to end this experience. You know, this physical experience. And don't think that that's a great way to live forever, because it's not. Because time will be up at some point. And so the deal is, you want to be full out. I love what, I forgot her name. Okay, so remember when there was newspapers that you held in your hand, and there was a humorist, and she was female, and what? Irma Bombeck, you read my mind. That's exactly who I was trying to think of. I knew somebody would know. Irma Bombeck said what she wanted to do, she wanted to get to the end of her life and tell God, I used everything you gave me. I used it all. That's my ambition. I hope it's yours, because this is really what this is about. Finding our passion is really to see what is the next thing we want to invent or create or lend our energy to, or share with the world. Life's journey becomes a true adventure when we can identify our passion and know for certain this is ours to do, this is ours to be. So doing versus being. I'm sure you've probably heard that talk before, because I know I have given my share of those. But I'm going to take this to a different level than even I've shared before, because I've come to understand something that I've always put it on my talk bullet point as doing versus being, right? There's even a scriptural support for it in Jesus, the story of Martha and Mary. You know, Martha's the doer, Mary's the beer. It's better to be a beer than to be a doer, although doers are great because we couldn't do anything without them, so we got to do both and go back and forth. Okay, that's it, basically. I just gave you that whole lesson with nothing else in it. But I'm going to tell you that it really isn't. I mean, it's one thing to be in the balancing act, yes, and one is not better than another. It depends on what's in front of you, what the circumstances are, how to show up responsibly. But what I will also say is that it is always important to be doing from the place of your being, right? It isn't either or. It's not just zone out and get into your head and just execute a plan. Sometimes that's important in emergency situations, I get that. But for the navigation of our lives, it is far more powerful, useful, and important to come from the being of us and infill everything we say, everything we do, everything we offer, from a place of deep-seated connection with our souls. And that's our being nature. That's who we are, who we have come to be. It's what we bring. It's how we serve, and it's how our light shines. Okay? So consider being more intentional and being more conscious of what it is that you're doing, because it doesn't matter so much what we do as being aware of what we are doing it with, right? And spiritual mastery is now the arena that I've invited you into, because that's spiritual mastery. It's really just being centered in oneself, knowing that what you have to bring is something the world needs. And it doesn't matter the size of the task or the significance of it or the number of people you do it with or for or in the presence of. It only matters that you ever do it, that you give it, that you are it. True passion, it comes from a place of love. This is our deepest love. It's like if our soul could step out of our bodies, it's non-local, but if it could do that and stand before you, it would simply be radiating love. If you could see a soul, you would just only feel that love. Because that's really what passion is about. Passion is love, and it comes from the depth of the soul into expression. We create our future and fulfill our purpose from a place, if we are attuned to it, aligned with, what is it that our soul desires? It's that deep, deep longing inside of us to matter, to be seen, to serve, to make a difference, to leave a legacy. This is the very essence of our humanity, I believe. Steve Jobs said, "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life." I think he did this in an address, in a graduation speech to graduates. And he said, "Your work is going to fill a large part of your life, and the only way to be truly satisfied is to do what you believe is great work. And the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking. Don't settle. As with all matters of the heart, you'll know when you find it." Heart. Would you think that those words would ever come out of Steve Jobs' mouth, right? And yet, a master of understanding, of intrinsically following guidance and a vision and being in search of that vision and being committed to a vision it has to be successful, to be on target with it, you have got to use your heart. You have got to open to intuition and to something that hasn't been done before. You can't look at the models around you and follow a path that someone else has already started and really create something completely different. You have got to open yourself to a pattern, a picture, a vision, a something that is uniquely you. And even if the job description or the name of it or the path is well trodden, if you haven't been on it before, it has not been done yet. Understood? Yes. Because you haven't done it. And because when you walk it, you are not going to walk in exactly the same path, footprints of anyone else. You will bend the grass in your way, in your pace, in your time, and at a time when your presence will matter the most, because that's the way the universe works. We are a part of a larger whole. We know that. We teach that. And the evidence of it becomes, as we look at the wake that we leave, if we look at where we have been and how the improbabilities that have led us to the place we are seated tonight in these seats and at home watching on live stream. If we take a look at those places, if we look back at how we ever got to where we are today, I can promise you that no matter how well crafted or how intelligent or how visionary you may have been about where your life was going, you could not have planned the ups, the downs, the right turns, the left turns, the accidental synchronicity, coincidental things that happened in your life to put you right where you are today. You know that. That wasn't your plan. There's a difference, though, between our calling and what our ego mind would create. Our ego does its best. It's a prodigious thinker. We have a great mind. But it was never meant to be left in charge. It was always meant to be in service to the greater discerning process of the heart, to feel the longing, to know the truth, to feel what is really wanting to come forth, and to discern what that is. And as soon as that's clear or vision, then this kicks in and says, well, if I'm going to go there, first thing I would do is Google it, you know. The next thing I would do, call my friend who does that and see what they do and how did they get there, right? That's what this is for. But it isn't to make up the decision whether that's a worthy place to go. It's this. And if you think it's that and you get 5, 10, 20 steps down the road and it starts to veer off, maybe it's not that. This will tell you and bring it into closer focus and see, oh, I thought it was that. It's really more like that. And that wasn't even created. That didn't even exist way back here at the beginning of this step. You get it? Because you are a universal child. You are a part of the universe, and you're the frontage road. You're the interface with everything that's possible from the great field of possibilities. You're bringing things into visibility from possibility. The difference between the calling and the ego, though, is the difference between the heart and the head. And as an embarrassing example, I will use myself. So once upon a time, I had become a Unity minister, and I had done my stint here at Unity of Houston the first go-around. And I was talking with my therapist, and I just said, I had this great idea. I think I know what I'm supposed to do next. And she said, what? And I said, well, I think it's, I've had such a great experience. I've got so many things that I've learned. And since I've already done church ministry, I think what I'm going to do now is go into the big wide world, and how much bigger, how many people could I touch? It started off good, this idea, even as I'm saying it, it started off good, but here's where it kind of went awry. I thought that my calling might be to go to Hollywood and counsel people who were stars and people who were famous people, because I felt so sorry for them because they couldn't just let their hair down or just talk to anybody, and I wasn't certainly going to be impressed with talking with Robert Redford necessarily or anybody else, because I knew them as spiritual beings and I could just counsel with them, and they needed that. And of course, I didn't do any checking to see if they already had people lined up to do that for them. I just thought that was, and the more I thought about it, the more dazzled I got. And my therapist was sitting there listening to me, And she didn't seem very impressed. And I thought she'd get a little bit more excited. So I gave her all my other reasons for why I thought that would be great and I could do this. And then I found myself, like trying to convince her. And then finally I said, well, what do you think? And she goes, Karen, I'm not getting it. I'm not getting that at all. Why would you do that? Why them? I go, well, why not them? I was just going to argue for it. And I was, to be honest, I was a little irritated with her because I thought, well, maybe this is the end of the road for us. She's just not following me where my big ideas are going. I thought maybe she wasn't really on my team anymore, And then slowly I began to realize that there was a little difference between the passion that I had authentically felt for other things in my life that had really been really powerful and really important for me to be able to offer and give and do. And that when I thought about this very worthy idea, I'll just say, somebody's doing it, right? Somebody's a counselor, a spiritual counselor to the stars somewhere, that I felt a little more manicky. I felt a little bit more excited, and I found myself giving a list of reasons why this would be good. And where do reasons come from? Yes, exactly. It comes from up here. And really, this doesn't need to give any reasons. If it's the truth, and this is what you're supposed to do, you don't have to know how. You don't have to know why, and you don't even really have to explain it to anybody for their better understanding. You just have to stay connected to it and be committed to it. So I abandoned that idea and went into other very rewarding work. Let me just say that. Our head is supposed to be in service to the heart. It's not supposed to be coming up with the next great idea and then making all the reasons why this should happen. Saint Therese of Lisieux said, "The most important thing is not to think much, but to love much, and to do that which best stirs you to love." Is that simple? Yes. Not think much, love much, and do that which best stirs you to love, because that's where true vocational passion comes from. What do you love? What would you love to do? Who gets to do the best work in the world, something you would love to do, a way in which you could serve the world? Wouldn't that be great? That sounds like the best job ever. I thought this was the best job ever when I sat where you sat. And I thought, oh, I would love to do that, but not everybody gets to. That's how I felt. I didn't know all you had to do was step up and do the class and get where you're supposed to go. It's not always that easy. It's not always that direct. I know that. But that's no reason not to try. It's no reason not to go. And there's no reason for you to give up until you have fulfilled the desire of your heart. Because let me say this, there is not a trickster God. There are mythologies where there's a trickster God, but that's really the ego in play. And it's often disguised as just another obstacle, another way for things to appear and then disappear. God is not a trickster God. God does not place something in your heart when there's no way for you to realize it. It is a necessary thing. The universe is elegant and simple, and it is complete and whole, and it does not do superfluous things. It doesn't call too many people to the table that it can't use. Every single seat is necessary and taken. Understood? How do we know when we're in sync with our passion? Intuition, right here, whoops, and vision are heightened when we are in service to our vision. It's like we're full of ideas. We're full of joy. Joy is another palpable sense of that. When you feel joy, when you get excited with, wow, wouldn't it be great to be able to give that or do that? They're heightened, and they also guide at the same time, or put us in connection with other people who are also actualized and activated in that way. And that's how you know what the next step is, because you just follow that thread of passion, of excitement, of joy. And you don't have to know where all it's leading necessarily. You can just ask for whatever it is you need to know now, and know that it will be sufficient, because you're in alignment with something that wants to be created through you, and you have the special ingredients for that to happen. In the Native American tradition, pollen is the life source. The pollen path that is used in mythology and is spoken about in that tradition, the pollen path is the path to the spiritual center. The Navajo say, "Oh, beauty before me, beauty behind me, beauty to the right of me, beauty to the left of me, beauty above me, beauty below me." I am on the pollen path, where if everywhere you look, you're in harmony with the universe. This is the thing. Everything sparkles a little bit. It's a little dazzling. Margaret Cheval Link wrote a book called The Pollen Path, a collection of Navajo myths. And in that book, a commentator says that Link makes it clear that the determination of he who teaches himself, in other words, that character, that state of mind that we can enter into, he who teaches himself, undertakes such a journey that represents the need of an individual to disidentify with the collective norm. In other words, you don't need anybody's permission, and you don't do it like anybody else. You're not necessarily looking to see how somebody else followed their passion necessarily, because you are on your journey, and it just simply may not help you to see what someone else does. To find depths of your own nature in a journey that carries you through the typical dangers, to reach a center which can never be related directly to the outer tasks or the satisfactions of life. And what that means is that if you move to this center, it is not described by what you do, but rather by who you are that does it. Understood? The identity with the spiritual center of you is actually what this journey is all about, and that what you do will simply emanate from that place. Connected to something deeply eternal, deeply internal, deeply commanding. It isn't just that you can do something or do this thing or follow this path. It is that you must do it. It is for you, and it will not let you rest until you go there. The Sufi poet Rumi says, "When you do things from your soul, the river itself moves through you. Freshness and a deep joy are the signs of its current." Freshness, aliveness, joy. When's the last time you felt true joy? Children feel joy all the time. Do you know why? Because they don't know they're limited. They don't see anything except the wide open sky, the big open field. They're so alive and alert to everything around them. They are in joy all the time. When you have entered that space of possibility for yourself, you re-enter that childlike state, and joy becomes a daily experience. Not every minute of the day, but a lot of it. And you easily default to it because you remember who you are and who it is that's doing this thing, whatever it is. Father Gregory Boyle, a Jesuit priest, I think I shared a story last time I was up here with you guys. In this particular, so he's a Jesuit priest who's, for those of you who don't know, in Los Angeles. He's been there over 30 years working with gang members, and he helps them come into productive lives. And his stories are always written about these people that he has come to love and to know, and who he says have taught him so much. He says Moreno now works at the reception center in our brand new headquarters at Homeboy Industries, where they get jobs and help gang members get rid of their tattoos and move into productive lives. So Moreno, in his mid-20s, is the father of 2 daughters and has worked at Homeboy for 6 years. And I've watched him grow immeasurably into a responsible, mature worker. If there's an area for further growth, it's in his language. Father Greg says, I'm always trying to curb his tendency to the mal hablado, which is bad language. He's trying to, he says he's also trying to, that's what he says. He left me a message not long ago, and it sounded like this. Hey, G, it's me, Moreno and shit. I mean Spencer, it's me, Moreno and feces. There's no children in here, right? Yeah, okay. I think we can all agree he's making some progress. He was a tiny, skinny kid when I met him years ago through some of his homies. And an elementary school dropout, he was getting socialized on the streets. His mom couldn't keep him at home or in school, and he had a disaffected relationship with his stepfather. He was a kid classically unable to find a strain of enthusiasm in his life. Delighting with some foreign countries, say Mozambique or something, he always made a point of letting you know that he was entirely too cool to get excited by much. I call him once and ask him what he's doing. Oh, you know, just right here, blaséing it. As an English major, I was actually not aware that you could do that to blasé. Street life finally catches up with Moreno, and he gets locked up. After the briefest of stints in juvenile hall, he gets sent to a suitable placement instead of a probation camp. Days after arriving at this group home in Orange County, he's enrolled in the local high school. And 2 weeks into school, he calls me. Hey, G, kidnap me, eh? I don't got no clothes, and tu sabes, mi jefita, she don't got no ends. So yeah, kidnap me. Moreno was aware that at Homeboy we had a program called New Image, which allows us to buy clothes for gang members released from detention facilities, enabling them to trade in their oversized Ben Davis for Dockers that más o menos fit them. So I arranged with the group home staff to kidnap Moreno on the upcoming Saturday. I pick up Moreno, and it is immediately apparent that today he's decided to stand tall for the blaséing it movement. No matter what I say, I can't topple him from his whatever parapet. Naturally, I press him on school. Wow, dog, I mean, felicidades, nice going. You're in school again after all these years. So how's it feel? Moreno shrugs. He can't even muster a whatever. Oh, now, come on, son, you gotta have a favorite subject. Nope. How about English? Hate it. Math? The worst. Like history? Can't stand it. There's gotta be something you like. Do you have a science? These last words of mine seem to be like a cattle prod attached to them, because were it not for his seatbelt in my car, he'd be in my lap. Damn, G, biology, that's the bomb. He settles in to have me share his joy. Watch it, dog, he continues. On Monday, we're gonna digest a frog. I nearly swerve into oncoming traffic. Greatly amused, I say to him, well, actually, mijo, it's not digest a frog, it's dissect a frog. Moreno resumes the blasé. Yeah, well, whatever. we're going to be messing with a frog. But as you probably guessed by now, he didn't actually use the word messing. He preferred a different word. He likes alliteration, if you get what I'm saying, messing with a frog. Okay, the poet Mary Oliver writes, "All things are inventions of holiness, some more rascally than others. There is magical poetry in a kid on the margins who discovers biology. Moreno is all the more holy in being rascally about it." Because you see, Moreno didn't find biology because he reasoned that this was the natural path for a gang member, right? Or that this would be the key to some great career and prosperity and for his future. He made the next right decisions and simply went to school because it was in front of him. And he put himself in a place where he could be found. It found him. You see, we aren't doing life. Life is doing us. We don't find our passion. If we're lucky, attuned, open, aware, childlike, it finds us. Because the desire and the longing of the universe is so strong and so potent and so necessary, and our unique combination of whatever is necessary to fulfill the great landscape. Every one of us needs to find our place at that table and give and live and do from what we deeply are. Jesus said, "Where your treasure is, there your heart will be also." H. Jackson Brown Jr. said, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you didn't do than by the ones you did do. So throw off the bowlines, sail away from the safe harbor, catch the trade winds in your sail, explore, dream, discover, dare. Be on the lookout. Wait for it. I suspect you'll find it's coming for you. God bless you all.
Thank you for watching this message today. I'd like to invite you to join us in person here on campus at Unity of Houston for Sunday morning or Wednesday evening services. If you can't be with us here on our campus, you can still join us live on Facebook or on our website, unityhouston.org, Sunday mornings at 11 a.m. Central.